My name is Christine Marquette, and I'm a registered dietitian with the Austin Regional Clinic, and I'm going to talk to you about how to turn a regular recipe into a low-fat recipe. Now, there's a lot of different ways to reduce the fat content of your foods. It kind of depends a little bit on the recipe. We'll start with baked goods. If you're trying to bake cookies or bake a cake or something like that that calls for oil, a lot of the times you can cut the oil in half and then add that missing portion of oil with something like an applesauce if it's a lighter colored baked good, or you can even use something called no bake. It's basically a combination of applesauce, prunes, and a few other fruits that will really give your baked good the moisture and the feel missing from the oil. So that's one option for baked goods. Another option, if you're actually preparing an entree that uses oil, you just want to avoid deep frying. You can use a very small amount of oil to coat the surface of the pan. If it's something, for example, a meat that really doesn't need any additional oil, the little bit of fat that's in the meat should be sufficient. If you feel like things are sticking a little bit, you can always add a little bit of vegetable broth or chicken broth, or even a little bit of juice. That little bit of extra moisture will really help prevent sticking in the pan if you're pan frying something, sauteing something. So that's a very easy way to reduce some fat in regular recipes. Other options, if you're using something that calls for cream, heavy cream, regular butter, all of those things you can actually reduce the fat by using a reduced fat version of that product. You don't want to go fat-free on the milk or the cream, but as long as you go with a reduced fat cream or reduced fat milk, that will cut the fat content down significantly and will still allow you to have the texture that you need in that particular recipe. Other ways, if you have recipes that call for a lot of cheese, is basically just reducing the amount of cheese that you're using. That will cut down the fat as well. And there you can determine what you're willing to compromise. Some people can cut the cheese in half, other people will only cut it down by, say, a quarter. So that's a little bit up to you on the actual taste, the flavor, the texture of the product that you're making, but very often you can decrease it by half. Another option is to, when you decrease, say for example it's cheddar cheese by half, you may want to also add just a little bit of Parmesan or Romano. That particular cheese is already pretty low in fat and will reduce your fat content significantly. So just a few tips for some of the different recipe options, cutting the fat in those.